January 7, 2026, the White House says Trump and his close advisors are discussing options on how to take over Greenland for U.S. security reasons. The option includes utilizing the U.S. military. The Kingdom of Denmark, NATO, and the Greenlanders definitely oppose the U.S. intention. 85% of Greenlanders were against joining the U.S. In response of Trump's statement, Denmark has sent troops to Greenland in response to Trump's threat, along with few European troops for NATO reconnaissance mission. There is tremendous political tension and NATO efforts to keep Greenland as part of the Kingdom of Denmark. This includes trying to establish a framework on Greenland, which involved mineral rights and the Golden Dome of the U.S. However, a Greenlandic member of the Danish parliament, Aja Chemnitz, expressed some disagreement with the outcome and want involvement of the Greenlanders for the negotiation. The majority of Greenlanders even show their wish to become an independent country. A survey in January 2025 shows that 56% of Greenlanders want independence, but that 45% were opposed if it meant a deterioration in their living standards. This highlights economic concern and supply dependence on Denmark. If Greenland want to increase and stabilize their economy and have more self-sufficiency, there are ways to accomplish that. This also included opening up new industries that I will explain in this video. Today's Greenland. On most world maps using the Mercator projection, Greenland looks absolutely massive, almost as big as Africa. But that's a visual trick caused by map distortion near the poles. In reality, Greenland's area is approximately 2.16 million square kilometers, still much smaller than Africa, but it's still bigger than the unified size of the UK, France, Germany, mainland Denmark, and the Netherlands put together, thus making Greenland the world's largest island. Despite the massive size of the island, only 57,000 residents live here, making it also the world's least densely populated area. Greenland is also a giant ice sheet, 80% of the island covered by the ice. There is agriculture mainly in the southern area. Potatoes are the most successful and widely cultivated crop in Greenland, thriving in the cool climate, especially in the southern regions. Other commonly grown vegetables include lettuce, cabbage, carrots, beets, parsnips, cauliflower, broccoli, radishes, spinach, leeks, turnips, chervil, parsley, and rhubarb. Strawberries, blueberries, and crowberries are also cultivated, particularly in warmer southern areas in greenhouses. Greenland's GDP was approximately 23 billion Danish krone, or 3.33 billion USD in 2023. Exports are the largest GDP contributors, contribute 23% of the GDP. Shrimp and Greenland halibut account for approximately 90% of export revenues. The 2023 data, most recent available, shows exports of 5.3 billion Danish krone equals to 834 million USD, representing 23% of GDP. Tourism revenue is approximately 2% of GDP. In 2019, revenue from tourism was about 450 million Danish krone, or 67 million USD. 70% of Greenland's electricity generation comes from renewable sources, primarily hydroelectric power. However, most of Greenlanders, 45% of them, still work in public service and administration. Currently, Greenland is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. It controls most of its domestic affairs, but relies heavily on Denmark for an annual subsidy of approximately 3.9 billion Danish krone, or 560 million USD, which accounts for roughly 20 to 25% of Greenland's GDP and covers nearly half of the government budget. This means that in order to be economically sustainable without lowering the quality of life, Greenland need to increase their economy to fill the 3.9 billion Danish krone, or 560 million USD GDP gap. I will explain the possible economic opportunities to fill the GDP gap and also make it sustainable.
The treasure or the curse, rare earth elements. Greenland sits on one of the world's largest untapped reserves of rare earth elements, the critical minerals that power everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to wind turbines and military defense systems. The Kvanefjeld deposit alone is estimated to contain approximately 11 million tons of rare earth oxides, making it one of the largest undeveloped rare earth deposits globally. Greenland also has significant deposits of uranium, zinc, lead, gold, diamonds, and potentially massive oil and gas reserves off its coast. The U.S. Geological Survey estimated that the northeast Greenland shelf alone could hold up to 31 billion barrels of oil equivalent. To put this in perspective, the global rare earth elements market was valued at approximately $8.3 billion USD in 2023 and is projected to reach $16 billion USD by 2030. Currently, China dominates this market, controlling roughly 70% of global mining production and nearly 90% of processing capacity. The United States, European Union, and other Western nations are desperate to diversify their supply chains, especially given rising geopolitical tensions. If Greenland fully developed their mining industry, they can occupy up to 10% of the world's rare earth elements demand. That means if Greenland already fully developed their mining industry in 2030, it can bring $1.6 billion USD for GDP. The amount is 2.8 times bigger than the current Greenlanders' annual income per person, or around 279,000 DKK, or around 43,000 USD per year. If the mining industry is well developed, the Greenlanders' GDP per person can be estimated at around 407,000 DKK or 62,000 USD. Iceland's aluminum industry provides the template. With just 3 aluminum smelters employing roughly 1,000 workers total, Iceland generates over $2 billion annually. That's $2 million in value per worker because the process is energy-intensive but highly automated. Sure, they need more infrastructure and a better way of mining specified for Greenland's heavily iced land and also to preserve the environment. Renewable energy, using hydroelectric and geothermal power, can be taken into account. Other than that, there are things that need to be wary of when it comes to a nation with large natural resources, which is the resource curse. History is littered with resource-rich nations that squandered their wealth and ended up in poverty. Venezuela, despite having the world's largest proven oil reserves, collapsed into economic crisis due to corruption, lack of economic diversification, and mismanagement. Nauru, a tiny Pacific island, mined its phosphate deposits to exhaustion, leaving the country environmentally devastated and economically dependent on aid. For Greenland to succeed, economic diversification is essential. The country cannot rely solely on mining. Here's a sustainable development strategy. Sustainable fishing and aquaculture. Greenland's waters are incredibly productive. Expanding from traditional fishing to modern aquaculture, farming fish like Arctic char, salmon, and shellfish could provide sustainable income without depleting wild stocks. Advanced manufacturing with automation. With a small population of just 57,000, Greenland can't rely on labor-intensive industries. However, highly automated manufacturing facilities, processing rare earth elements into finished products, manufacturing renewable energy components, or producing specialized materials could work with minimal human labor and maximum value addition. Renewable energy exports. Greenland has enormous hydroelectric potential. Using renewable electricity could tap into what's projected to become a multi-trillion-dollar global market. Environmental protection must be central. Any mining must include strict environmental regulations, rehabilitation requirements, significant portions of profits allocated to environmental restoration funds, and indigenous consultation and consent. Greenland's pristine environment is itself an economic asset through tourism and fishing.
Plant agriculture entirely to cover Greenlanders' agricultural need. Since only a very small amount of land can be planted regularly, the plantation need to be sustainable and focused on fulfilling the Greenlanders' needs. This can decrease Greenlanders' dependency on imported goods.
Developing Greenland's resources would require massive infrastructure investment, deep water ports, processing facilities, power generation, housing for workers, and improved telecommunications. This is partly why foreign investment becomes necessary, but it must be managed carefully to ensure Greenlandic control and benefit. What do you think about this idea? Do you think these are the best solutions for increasing Greenland's economy? Drop your opinions in the comments. Hit the like button if you agree or feel informed by this video. If you want to get into this kind of world economy video, please subscribe to Acenomic and turn on the full notification. See you later.